to be able to look at this and be like, that is clearly not a real picture. Supposedly, this is photoshopped. Supposedly. Allegedly. Allegedly photoshopped. More reasons to release his records. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, weird Holocaust lady? I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but do you not see? Did you not tell from the first time you stared at this that this is obviously a Photoshop? What the f is wrong with you? I do want to talk about one thing very quickly. And that is this. And this is going to be a bit of a downer for a couple seconds. I know we've been having a lot of fun. Now, there have been multiple instances where there has been a mass murderer, a mass shooting in the United States, and immediately the right starts to blame, or tries to blame, trans people, or tries to find a way to blame trans people, or runs with a transphobic conspiracy theory that originated on 4chan and then pushes it into the mainstream. Turns out, unfortunately, none of this is new, these tactics, and this is a thread on the subject that I found absolutely fascinating. If you'll indulge me on a thread, I want to talk a little bit about the wave of anti-trans legislation we're seeing, the right labeling all queer people as groomers, and how to understand it by learning about a serial killer in the Weimar Republic named Fritz Haarmann. From 1918 to 1924, Haarmann terrorized the town of Hanover, picking up his young victims, often prostitutes, and taking them to a secluded area before chopping them up and brutalizing them. The total number of victims is unknown, but it was well over 100. Haarmann was a police informant. He carried a police badge. This kept him away from being a suspect for years. He ran a private detective agency despite his background as a small-time criminal, and the authorities tried to dismiss his PI network as phony. Haarmann was also a homosexual when he was finally apprehended. The press leaped on this fact, with fascists exploiting it for their own political gain. When communist papers tried to probe the police connections, they were censored and shut down. The lack of serious investigation led the bigots and hysterics to the top. Rumors spread that Haarmann was a supernatural being. A werewolf must have done the crimes because of how animalistic they were. Victims were cut into pieces and savaged. But those were mostly fringe. The real attention was on Haarmann's sexuality, and the country was whipped into a frenzy. Despite the Communist Party's lines going explicitly against this, communist papers in the Weimar started eating or equating all queer people with Haarmann. The damage dealt to the Weimar's thriving queer movement was irreparable, and the fascists reaped the gains. By the time the Nazis gained power, homosexuality was criminalized within days, and over 10,000 queer people were murdered in the Holocaust, with over 100,000 arrested. Despite being the inspiration for the killing in Fritz Lang's M, for the most part, the surge in homophobic violence is often linked to the case in most histories and is relegated to shitty true crime shows today. However, if you've read the notorious acts of American violence before, then Haarmann acting as the police informant at the time of the murders should ring familiar, as it's often the case with predators of violent acts. See Oswald was CIA, hijackers were watched, etc. His methods and police protection also sound exactly out of Jeffrey A. Dahmer's playbook. The Milwaukee police personally delivered 14-year-old Konorak synthasophonophone to Dahmer after the young boy had escaped against the protests of 3 black women they ignored. Dahmer killed him. In the wake of a city member of commerce blaming the trans girl for the Uvalde shooting after fascists on 4chan spread the image of a totally unrelated trans person around, claiming it was the shooter. I couldn't help but think of this case. Here, like with Haarmann, we have a horrific act of mass violence against children where the police are at minimum horrifically negligent in their slaughter. To play down that fact, fascists, including elected officials, spread nonsense about a trans person doing it. We've already seen these lies lead to the assault of a trans girl, and it's foolish to assume it's going to stop there. Uvalde is the latest case, but this isn't going to stop. The media reaction is eerily similar, with Tucker Carlson, who tried to join the CIA and allegedly didn't get in, spreading the vile rhetoric like this, saying it's just another day in Weimar. When introduced in a segment on the fascists attacking a Dallas drag event, Tucker Carlson opened with the line, just another weekend in Weimar. This is a talking point amongst fascists, neo-Nazis who justify the Nazi persecution of gays in Nazi Germany. My main source to this is The Pink Triangle by Richard Plant, which goes into what led the genocide of queer people in Nazi Germany thoroughly. The reason I bring this all up is because they're doing this right now to the July 4th shooter. Apparently, the July 4th shooter wore a dress in order to try and hide his identity while he was about to commit this horrific atrocity. And now you're seeing all these headlines, right-wing ghouls and reactionaries coming out and being like, oh, whoa, what was this a trans attack? Was this person like a far leftist? They have blue, pink hair. That's obviously the telltale signs of being, on that side. Being on the side of Antifa. The Quartering was working overtime to try and prove that it wasn't someone on the right. Prediction. Shooter will claim it's about Roe v. Wade. Media will bury the story right next to the Vegas shooting and Waukesha. This is a leftist for sure. The Highland Park shooter heard yelling, "This is MAGA country" by anonymous sources, says CNN. The mass shooter's music. I see he has a rose in the account, which usually indicates socialism fans. Dude is Antifa, leftist, 100%, and will disappear from headlines tomorrow. That didn't happen. Bad prediction. Here's today's mass shooter. A prototypical Trump voter, to be sure. Yeah, the shooter looks Republican as fuck. I swear to God, the whole like blue hair equal screaming SJW cringe has broken right-wing brains. Like they're all permanently broken from that. Because as soon as they see pink hair, blue hair, they're like, whoa, Antifa, left, communism, social, like all at once. The person was at a Trump rally with friends, and every photos had a Trump flag draped around them. Also had a QAnon hip hop song, so kind of not looking great for the right to the far right in this arena. But I mean, there are a handful of things that are also unusual about the shooter in question. All that being said, that hasn't stopped people from being absolute clowns. Marjorie Taylor Greene, the public should not allow this to continue. People are not stupid. Is he in jail or rehab or a psychiatric center in this photo? This is not his bedroom. 22 years old and 5'11" and 120 pounds. It's not normal or healthy. What drugs or psychiatric drugs or both does he use? This was the photo, by the way. You can see the fucking outline line, like just you don't even need to know a lot about Photoshop or editing techniques or the lasso tool. You don't need to know about any of that, all right? To be able to look at this and be like, that is clearly not a real picture. Supposedly this is photoshopped. Supposedly. Allegedly photoshopped. More reasons to release his records. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, weird Holocaust lady? I'm not entirely sure what's going on here, but do you not see? Did you not tell from the first time you stared at this that this is obviously a Photoshop? What the fuck is wrong with you? Man. Yeah. I'm guessing Democracy Now! We'll talk about a little bit more in detail.
Now, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. A warning to our viewers and listeners, our top stories include graphic details and images of gun violence. In Illinois, 6 people were killed, at least 24 injured when a rooftop gunman armed with a high-powered rifle attacked a 4th of July parade in the Chicago suburb of Highland Park Monday morning. 5 of the shooting victims died on the street. 6 died in the hospital. Victims ranged in age from 8 to 85. Eyewitnesses described a scene of terror as parents scrambled to protect their children from the attack. Following an 8-hour manhunt, police arrested Robert E. Cremo III, known as Bobby, a 22-year-old resident of Chicago's northern suburbs, an aspiring musician who performed current mayor. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker responded to the shooting Monday.
I'm furious because it does not have to be this way. And yet we as a nation, well, we continue to allow this to happen. While we celebrate the 4th of July just once a year, mass shootings have become our weekly, yes, weekly, American tradition.
According to the Gun Violence Archive,
I was looking it up yesterday. I'll show you all the graphic. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mass shootings in America yesterday. 6. Now, only one of them, 2 of them had people where they died, but every single one of them had a minimum of 4 different people injured by gunfire in these mass shootings. In one day. In one day in America. 6. Like, I just can't wrap my head around. You see it, by the way. Even in events where people were not directly in danger, like the Pride event in New York, where you just hear fireworks go off and people start screaming and running. And at this event, when you've seen, I'm sure everyone's seen the numerous different footages of it, it just looks like a country terrorized. It just absolutely captivated by fear right now. And like, I would do the same thing. If I was in a public area or public event and I heard like a car backfire, I would probably just start booking it. Don't even know which direction. I mean, I'm guessing away from the sound, you know? That's about the only constant. Just fucking sprint as fast as possible. Holy shit.
There have now been 315 mass shootings in the United States so far this year. Highland Park has an assault weapons ban, but the latest news is that Bobby Crimo obtained his rifle legally. We'll get the latest on Highland Park after headlines. In Ohio, outrage over a police shooting in Akron prompted mass protest over the weekend.
By the way, I don't want to show this footage, but I know people get upset every time. It's just like, why do you always have to compare things that aren't related? Different things are different, okay? So just because in one instance the police shot an unarmed black man 60 times, and this event, which had a killer who murdered 7 people, injured a lot of more, they were asked politely, when you watch the footage of it, to get on their knees, then to go on the ground. Thank you very much. Now, can you please put your hands behind your head? Or put your hands behind you. Like, so calm. So calm. But in the other instance, yes, shot 90 times, hit 60.
Video ends with the police firing 90 rounds, hitting Walker 60 times, according to an autopsy report. Walker was unarmed when police shot him.
Do you enjoy the Serfs, but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to embark on a mighty jihad in your name. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble jester, attempting in vain to get you to laugh. To our valiant knights of the Round Table, Benji Arnie, Tech Tink, Scary Earth Human, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruby Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood. It doesn't matter what I believe, it only matters what I can prove. Egbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tao, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevbot, EXE, Brian Ephraim, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Incosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, La Media Panza, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We raise our mugs and salute our brave heroes off to another glorious conquest.